Don't go see the nurse until you've met the chief. Hello everyone, and welcome to Movie Reviews by Josh. I'm your host, Josh Terry. Now, the other night, I was looking around on Netflix trying to find something to watch, and I came across a new series that was just released called Nurse Ratched. Now, if you don't already know, Nurse Ratched is a prequel series to a movie from the 1970s called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And that's the movie I want to talk about today, because if you haven't seen that, you need to make sure that you see it before Nurse Ratched. Now, to be honest, I haven't even watched Nurse Ratched yet. I was really excited to see that Netflix also had One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest available, so I started watching that instead. Maybe I'll get around to watching Nurse Ratched in the next week or so, and maybe I'll write a review for that one too, okay? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, though. 1975, Milos Forman is the director, Jack Nicholson is the star, and it is one of my all-time favorite Jack Nicholson movies. This is a classic Jack Nicholson anti-hero performance. He plays a guy, a criminal, named McMurphy, and he's already been kind of going through the system a little bit, and he's kind of one of these, just can't fit in anywhere and can't deal with rules and authority. He's an anti-authoritarian type. And so eventually he starts kind of acting a little bit crazy, thinking that maybe he'll get himself committed to an institution and he'll find a way to kind of get out of his troubles. And so this movie is all about McMurphy being placed in a mental institution, and all kinds of things follow. Now, there's definitely an element of humor to this movie, and there's some really, really funny stuff, but it's not a comedy. It's much more of a drama, and a very bittersweet one at that, because this is a movie that it's got some quirkiness to it, and Jack Nicholson is being Jack Nicholson. This is early, this is about 10 years or so into his career, and he's really just kind of staking out his territory. But it's a very, very powerful movie with a lot of heart that really kind of gets at you. And for that reason, it's not an easy watch. So this is a little bit out of the ordinary, but I want to include an insert on this review because, as it turns out, I had only rewatched about half of the movie when I recorded my review that you're in the middle of watching right now. I've seen the movie several times in the past, but it had been a little while. And so I was rewatching it in installments, and decided to go ahead and record the review about halfway through and then watch the other half later on. In the process, I realized that I needed to make a couple of points. The first of which is that there is a little bit more graphic violence than I remember from earlier watchings. It's still, you could probably still say that it's in the PG-13 range, but it's not a matter of the movie's only rated R because of language. Like I kind of felt like I needed to make that clear because there is actually some violence, especially towards the end, as confrontations happen. That, again, while not exactly graphic we're not talking about the Saw movies here. We're not talking about Halloween, Michael Myers type stuff, but it's definitely violent enough that you might want to be aware of it. The second thing is that, rewatching it, it's probably been a few years since I had watched the whole thing, and after finishing the movie again, I had some some more ponderous thoughts about it. It's still really like the movie and still really enjoy it. I think it's very well written, very well acted and performed. But if any of you watching have had this experience, sometimes it's interesting to see a movie as an adult or as a more wizened adult than when you see it when you're quite a bit younger. And it had been a few years since I've seen this, and watching it, from my perspective now, I can kind of recognize that, it's not as easy as just saying that, Jack Nicholson is the free spirit good guy and Nurse Ratched is the evil, manipulative authority figure. Even if the movie might kind of want to portray it that way. And I still haven't watched the new Netflix series, but I'm not sure if they're, kind of considering that dynamic because, the older you get, it's a little easier to kind of understand Nurse Ratched's perspective. Not to say that she's a good character, and she still uses means and devices that are, inappropriate and definitely villainous. But the movie isn't quite as black and white as I think it might like to present itself to be otherwise, or as people have presented it. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of understanding it the way I'm supposed to now. But I thought that was kind of interesting to think about, especially because, when I say this is one of my favorite endings and a favorite movie, um, it's important to kind of note that it's not necessarily a matter of endorsing everything and that happens and that it's wonderful, because it's kind of a difficult ending and a challenging ending, but there's an element of it that I've always really, really loved. And when you watch it yourself, it should probably be pretty obvious what the make you smile element is. But it's couched in some tragedy and some difficulty. So I felt like I should probably make that clear. This is kind of a tug at your heartstrings type of movie in a good way, I would say, because as Nicholson's character interacts with the different people in the institution, your heart goes out to him, and you see people that are really struggling, and you see them interact, and they're not all lovable. I mean, some of them are very, very abrasive, and the interactions between them are really fascinating. And Milos Forman, the director, does a really incredible job of balancing kind of a lighthearted quirkiness against this really sober reality of what's going on. And Jack Nicholson is just this perfect storm in the middle of it all. And of course, Nurse Ratched is his antagonist. She's in charge of their wing, and she's the authoritarian figure who's always trying to put him down. And of course, he wants to loosen the place up and start changing the rules around, and wants them to be able to watch the World Series and go out on field trips, and all kinds of clashes ensue there. In fact, as I was watching this, rewatching it again, I was thinking that there are a lot of similarities here to Cool Hand Luke. If you like Cool Hand Luke, it's a very similar kind of movie about a character who just can't fit, and Paul Newman is on the chain gang and always pushing back against authority. Jack Nicholson is doing the same thing in this movie in an institution. And of course, I don't want to give anything away, especially because this really is, I mean, I would say that this movie probably ranks in my all-time top 10, if not top 5, as far as all-time favorite endings. That being said, it is a very bittersweet ending. And so that's why I mentioned early on, it's kind of a tough movie to watch. It's not kind of your Hollywood happy ending, everything is lovely and roses. It's really something you pretty much have to see to understand. I don't think I could explain it even if I wanted to spoil it for you. But if, aside from, the R-rated materials in terms of the language and that kind of thing, it's a powerful movie, and it will really get to you. And it got to me, and it stuck with me for a long time. So I was really happy to see it popping up on Netflix. And when I see Nurse Ratched, if I get around to it, I hope that it lives up to that high standard. So what's your favorite Jack Nicholson movie? Leave your answer in the comments below. Thanks for watching. This has been Movie Reviews by Josh. My name is Josh Terry, and I would be very, very grateful if you would subscribe to the channel on your way out. And make sure you keep notifications on so that you can see our new videos as soon as they're available. And have yourself a great day.